Society is set up for competition, and those that possess a winning mindset have a competitive advantage. From a young age, people are encouraged to win. They may be compared to others who seem to have a winning mindset. They strive and struggle to win. Why? It is hardwired in humans for survival. Win, survive, lose, die. Now, some societies and families pass down the winning mindset formula for success. This can be both positive and negative, depending on how it is nurtured. But sometimes this winning mindset formula backfires. Why? Well, in this winning mindset mini tutorial video, we will dissect the reason by looking at a winning mindset mishaps case study. As I am sharing the details of the case study, listen like a detective trying to find clues. Listen for their attitude, their point of view or perspective. Listen for the language they are using. And finally, after you've listened to the case study, do you recognize this person? After the case study, we're going to compare responses and then look at social psychology solutions to support a winning mindset in an empowered way. Are you ready? All right, you don't want to miss anything in this winning mindset mini tutorial video. All right, it's time to play detective. You recently listened to an interview by a highly decorated athlete about how having a winning mindset is necessary for success. The focus of the interview gave you top tips that you can use with your client, team, or students. Although you thought this person to have narcissistic tendencies, you implement the tips of connecting with images of conquering fear, victorious outcomes, gold medals, and triumphant glory. A week later, you notice the opposite of what was intended. You address the issue and hear this response. I feel like a fraud when I use these techniques. I am being laughed at, and the people I care most about don't want to be around me when I'm acting like this. The result? This is a complete mystery to you because you thought that they wanted to win and you didn't anticipate this resistance. All right, let's unravel this mystery together. You just listened to the case study details, and as you were listening, what attitude did you hear when you were listening to that response? Well, that attitude of, I feel like a fraud. It's just not who I am. And when people are expected to act in a way that doesn't support the belief that they have of themselves or their typical behavior, sometimes this can result in that feeling of disconnect. They're feeling like a fraud. All right, what was their point of view or perspective? Well, we know that perspective or point of view is how they see everything, and their point of view is that they're being laughed at, humiliated when they try to be superior. So that gives us some insight. If we're that detective looking for clues, that gives us insight into the fact that maybe they're comfortable with feeling inferior. Now, what language did they use? Well, that language of fraud, laughed at, humiliated, and they're almost acting, so it's not feeling real to them. Now, after you were listening to that response, did you recognize that person? Now, recognize that person, maybe someone in your real life circumstances, maybe your client or someone you manage or lead at work, or even some of your students if you're a teacher or professor in the classroom. And that person might be someone who does have low self-esteem. And it might be the opposite. It truly might be a narcissistic person who might be trying to cover up for having low self-esteem, as you were listening to the athlete. So these types of tendencies can come out with either or. Let's further dissect that case study by going back to the basics, the definition of winning. And this becomes important because everyone has a different connection with the definition of winning. The act of one that wins, victory, something won, such as a captured territory, conquest. And we know what's happening in the world right now, this captured territory, this conquest. And we see that, the way this is looking, well, no, I don't want to win at all costs. And winning at all costs means that there are people that are losing and people that are hurting by that. And I don't want to be seen that way. So the definitions and how people are either attaching to it or disconnecting from it. And this becomes important for you to understand. So you always have to go back to the definition. So if there is that disconnect and people are feeling like a fraud, you have to go back and understand how they were raised to associate with winning. Maybe they were taught to collaborate more and cooperate more as opposed to conquesting and having victory. And if they win, that means someone loses, or maybe everyone's a winner. So go back to the basic of that definition. The next thing I want you to do is refer to your winning mindset PDF document. Now remember, this PDF document, you can find it at louiseandmaurice.com in the free resources area underneath the empowered mindset. And this is the PDF, which will have the link, and it will have the link for the definition as well. Because what you want to do is come up with empowered mindset solutions to support a winning mindset. And after your client or colleagues or work team, students, whoever you are using this information with, after they have developed their definition and connected with that definition, then you want to come up with changes in mindset techniques that are going to support a winning mindset. And that's where we look at social psychology. And then from the social psychology, you want to develop mindset coaching questions that you can use with them that are going to support that winning mindset, because everyone is going to have a different connection and everyone is going to need different support. All right, so let's look at the social psychology next. We are looking at Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia, with regards to social psychology. And when you are supporting your clients to have a changes in mindset, to have them develop their own sense of meaning as it relates to winning, and how they can truly be supported, because attitude. This is something where we were listening to our client, they were saying they just feel like a fraud, and quite possibly it might be the way that they've been raised to look at winning and victory. And that is okay. Everyone can have their own meaning. But that attitude, if they're always feeling like a fraud when they're winning or successful, it will stop them from being the best that they can be. So you have to be able to determine their connection, because attitude is defined as learned global evaluations of people or issues that influence thought and action. And if they are going to have that attitude it's an expression of approval and disapproval, likes and dislikes. And this becomes important to understand. Remember, it's about survival. And not every person is wired to win based on competing and having others lose so that they can win. And that's where you have to have them truly come up with a meaning and a definition that is something that will move them forward, and forward in a way that is aligned with their values, because they have to persuade themselves. If you try and persuade them and push them based on that meaning because you have been to and you listened to that athlete and it's just this way, then there's going to be that disconnect. So have them persuade themselves. And that social cognition, it's helping them to remember information about themselves. Remember information and going back to a time where quite possibly they lost and it hurt. So now they want to win at all costs, or the opposite, they won and it hurt. And now losing helps them to get rescued and everyone rallies around them and supports them. So this is where when you are going through and you are reading this information, it's about developing, yes, that mindset, that changes in mindset technique, and coming up with social psychology questions or winning mindset questions that are going to support them, because that self-concept is important. How they see themselves and the beliefs and the attitudes they have about themselves are very important, as well as that social influence and the group dynamics. I said sometimes people, hey, it's more comfortable. They get more love and attention when they lose as opposed to when they win. So you have to be able to guide them to determine that. Congratulations, you have now solved the winning mindset mystery, because there are some people who resist winning. And with the changes in mindset insight that you've received in this mini tutorial, you can now develop powerful coaching questions to move them toward developing a meaningful and purposeful winning mindset. Now, if you are a coach, consultant, team lead, manager, or educational professional working with students, subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any video in the Empowered Mindset series. Next month, we're going to look at abundance mindset. But check out my playlist for coaching questions, as well as any series you may have missed. You'll also find these videos, including all PDF resources, at louiseandmaurice.com. No email address is required to download these documents, and I want this to be available for you so that you have it. Together, we are making a positive difference. Remember, I'm your coaching instructor, Louise and Maurice, and I thank you for sharing your valuable time learning with me.